How does that look for everybody?
Looks good.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor McGehee and Township Committee. My name is Rachel Metka, and I am a member of the Environmental Advisory Committee. Tonight, our committee will propose that gas leaf blowers be phased out over the next 2 years. Maplewood is a proud leader in sustainable practices and has shown that we take the lead in protecting public health and safety of residents. My fellow committee member, Jonathan Poore, will speak to the history of this initiative.
Thank you, Rachel. In the early 2000s, owing to increasing use of leaf blowers in town, residents formed a group called CALM, Citizens Against Loud Machines. After extensive meetings between residents, Township Committee members and landscapers, After meetings between residents, Township Committee members, and landscapers, an ordinance was enacted in 2003. The 2003 ordinance mandated the use of quieter 65 decibel blowers between May 1st and October 15th of each year. Landscapers were required to register their equipment with DPW and get a sticker signifying that the blower was 65 decibel compliant. This ordinance proved difficult to enforce, and after a few years, the 65 decibel restriction was largely ignored. In 2016, Committeewoman Nancy Adams formed a subcommittee to discuss solutions to the ineffective 2003 ordinance. This led to a pilot program where gas-powered leaf blowers were completely banned during the summer of 2016. Based on facts gathered by the subcommittee, the town enacted a new ordinance in 2017 that prohibited gas-powered leaf blower use by commercial entities between May 15th through September 30th of each year. Later that year, a one-day workshop was held for the community and landscaping companies with a health, professional, and community panel. There was also a demonstration of electric equipment. In 2021, the ordinance was updated to explicitly include all gas-powered blowers. The ban was changed to also apply to residents and was extended by 15 days. So Maplewood has had close to 20-year history of residents pushing for a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. Tonight, we are proposing to phase out gas-powered leaf blowers entirely over the next 2 years. And yes, that will be 20 years since the 2003 ordinance. In tonight's presentation, we will discuss the following: reasons for a ban, why ban gas-powered leaf blowers, steps for a smooth implementation of the ban and a timeline, workability, how a gas-powered leaf blower ban can work, and case studies. Complete bans have been implemented elsewhere.
Why ban gas leaf blowers? America's manicured front lawns represent the pride of home ownership. Landscaping companies provide a valuable service. However, maintaining our lawns with gas-powered leaf blowers are putting the health of workers and residents at risk. They are also causing disruptions to our neighbors' lives and destroying local wildlife habitat. We will first explain the health hazards. The operators who regularly use these machines for hours a day, as well as children and the elderly, are the ones who are most affected by the health hazards. The negative health effects are damage in noise and disruptions, toxic emissions, and harmful particulates. We will first look into the noise they emit. Our first speaker this evening is Dr. Ree Rosenman-Nessen, Doctor of Audiology and founder of Hearing Doctors of New Jersey, who will help us understand how sound is measured and hearing loss occurs. Welcome, Dr. Rosenman-Nessen.
Hi. Oh, Hi. I have to change the slide, or are you changing the slide? Sorry.
Oh, you got the slide.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. I have some formal remarks prepared. Being around too much noise, like loud noise, and using a leaf blower can cause permanent hearing loss. And once it's gone, you can't get it back. Noise-induced hearing loss is a significant, often unrecognized health problem among U.S. adults. Nearly 1 in 4 adults have noise-induced hearing loss. Hearing plays an important role in communication, health function, and quality of life. Untreated hearing loss is associated with decreased social, psychological, and cognitive functioning. Hearing ability is inversely associated with distress, depression, loneliness, and a significantly higher unemployment rate. Noise is measured in what are called decibels. Decibels are measured on a logarithmic scale, meaning even a small increase in decibels has a large impact on how intense a sound is. For example, a 70 decibel sound is 10 times more intense than a 60 decibel sound. Over time, listening to loud sounds at high decibel levels can cause hearing loss or other hearing problems like a ringing sound in your ear that won't go away. The louder the sound is, the longer you are exposed to it, the more likely it will damage your hearing. The more often you're exposed to loud sounds over time, the more damage that can occur. I recently saw a patient in my office who was in charge of lawn maintenance at one of the local golf courses. Due to his exposure to loud noises, he had significant noise-induced hearing loss that made it extremely difficult for him to even communicate in a one-on-one conversation. One of my main concerns with gas-powered leaf blowers and lawn equipment is the damage it has on the workers who often are without the means to get the hearing help they need. Instead, these vulnerable, hardworking individuals have even more limited opportunities due to their inability to hear and communicate effectively with other people. I'd like to take a moment to explain how we hear and why loud noise can be so damaging. When the sound enters the ear, it first travels through the ear canal into the middle ear, which is the space that sits behind the eardrum. From there, the sound wave enters the cochlea or the hearing nerve, where there are tiny, very sensitive hair cells that line the entire structure. When the sound wave comes into the ear, it moves the hair cell, and when the hair cell moves, it sends a nerve impulse to our brain, and we understand that as speech. When the hair cells are damaged, it requires even more volume or energy to stimulate that hair cell and create the nerve impulse so our brains can understand and hear what is being said. The CDC has found that just 2 hours of exposure at 85 decibels of noise can cause permanent noise-induced hearing loss. Gas-powered leaf blowers create noise levels up to 110 decibels at the operator's ear and 83 decibels at 50 feet away. In addition, most types of hearing protection on the market today are not capable of abating the noise of a 100 decibel machine down to the required 85 decibel OSHA standard. And sadly, once the damage is done to the hair cells, it cannot be reversed. Noise-induced hearing loss, like other types of hearing loss, can be very gradual, and most often the person is not aware of the damage that has occurred to the hair cells until years later. This can all be avoided by limiting excessive noise exposure.
Thank you, Dr. Rosen-Nelson. Thank you. Noise pollution also has non-auditory health effects on health. Gas leaf blower noise has a strong low-frequency component that makes it travel long distances and penetrate walls and windows. Dr. Arlene Bronzaft, environmental psychologist who helped revise New York City's noise code, described low-frequency noise as the type of noise you feel. A Harvard Medical School study found that a gas leaf blower sound remains higher than the WHO outdoor daytime sound level standard of 55 decibels out to 800 feet from the point of operation. In Maplewood, an 800-foot radius, the red circle on the map, can cover over 100 homes. This study used only one leaf blower. However, in Maplewood, up to 3 are often used together on one property. Given the distance the noise pollution can travel, and given the large number of lawn care companies operating in Maplewood, it is easy to see that thousands of homes, schools, and daycares are affected by leaf blower noise on a daily basis. Noise levels higher than the WHO standard chosen to protect people from developing hearing loss and ensure public health and welfare. Noise pollution significantly impacts public health. Research suggests it can raise stress, affect mental health, and contribute to developing health issues such as high blood pressure and heart disease. Children are particularly vulnerable to negative health effects of noise pollution. In children, noise exposure has a negative effect on learning and cognition. More than 20 studies have demonstrated that children whose classes are interrupted by aircraft, road traffic, or rail noise read at a lower level, struggle more with memorization, and perform worse on standardized tests than children whose classrooms are quieter. When discussing a leaf blower ban, our township committee will be concerned about cost. So when weighing the cost of transition, we must also consider the cost of damaging noise.
Noise is an obvious health hazard from gas-powered leaf blowers. However, they also emit high levels of toxic emissions and particulate matter into the air we breathe. Gas-powered leaf blowers typically use two-stroke engines, which are dirtier and less fuel efficient than four-stroke engines used in cars. By design, these engines combine a mixture of gasoline and oil in the combustion chamber, and then spew out as much as 1/3 of that fuel as an unburned aerosol. Maplewood's 2017 leaf blower ban was covered by the New York Times. The author Rhonda Kazin illustrated the excessive hydrocarbon emissions of a half hour of yard work by writing, "Blow leaves from your lawn or drive from Maplewood to Juneau, Alaska. Your choice." Particulates are produced from the engine of gas leaf blowers and from the hurricane force winds blowing particles up from the ground. We are very grateful to have Dr. Hal Strelnick here tonight to speak on how toxic emissions and particulate matter cause harm to our community and to those who work in it. Dr. Strelnick.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Hal Strelnick. I'm a professor, as you can see on the slide, of family and social medicine and of epidemiology and population health at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. I was principal investigator of an environmental justice grant from the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, an institute among the National Institutes of Health, or NIH, that studied the relationship of adult and childhood asthma with both stationary and mobile sources of air pollution in the Bronx. I've lived in Montclair, New Jersey since 2007. I would like to speak about the health effects of gas-powered leaf blowers in support of the proposal to limit their use in Maplewood. Gas-powered leaf blowers pose a strong threat to community health because of their exhaust emissions, as Mr. Poor just described. These machines emit enormous amounts of fine and ultrafine carbon particulate matter, which can linger in the air for days. And that was illustrated in the previous slide that Mr. Poor showed. These invisible carbon soot particles carry many chemicals on their surfaces. Most gas-powered leaf blowers have two-stroke engines that run on a combination of gasoline and oil and thus produce an especially toxic exhaust, as Jonathan said. These emissions include large amounts of unburned fuel, carbon monoxide, cancer-causing hydrocarbons, including benzene, butadiene, and formaldehyde, asthma-inducing ozone and nitrous oxides, and asthma-aggravating fine and ultrafine particulate matter. Independent laboratories have measured the air pollution generated in these two-stroke engines and found that their hydrocarbons, nitrous oxides, and carbon monoxide dramatically exceeded those of cars and pickup trucks, which have exhaust mitigation systems that include catalytic converters, and their exhaust emissions are regulated by the federal government. California air quality officials estimated that in 2020, leaf blowers and other small two-stroke engines produced more hydrocarbon-based ozone pollution than all of the passenger cars in the state. Leaf blowers generate copious amounts of fine and ultrafine particulate matter, both through their exhaust and the dust blown into the air. The smaller the particulate size, the farther into the lungs they penetrate. So ultrafine particles, so-called PM 2.5, are worse than the fine particles, PM 10, in generating inflammation and exacerbating asthma and emphysema and potentially causing cancer, not just in the lungs, but also in the bladder. Using epidemiological methods, fine and ultrafine particulate matter have been linked to increased mortality from pulmonary or lung disease, cardiovascular or heart disease, as well as cancer, overall mortality, and now even COVID-19 mortality. Unlike emissions from smokestack industries and power plants or along major highways, the subject of my research, this source of air pollution is close to the humans who operate the leaf blowers. Because these exhaust aerosols linger near the ground for up to a week, they expose children and residents long after the lawn care workers have packed up their backpack machines and moved on. Unlike vehicle and smokestack emissions, which are regulated at the state and federal levels, Maplewood can better protect those who live and work here from these invisibly toxic machines. When the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in our neighborhoods, in our parks, and in and around our schools remain virtually unfettered, everyone in the community is put at greater health risk. At the request of New York Mayor David Dinkins, the late Mayor Dinkins, I wrote a paper called "What's a Mayor to Do About Health?" Since most regulations are at the federal level with the EPA or the transportation level with for interstates, and my focus is on what a mayor and a town council could do. So today, there are cleaner, safer, effective alternatives to gas-powered leaf blowers that are readily available. These include electric machines whose effectiveness and price have improved dramatically in recent years. I urge you to take whatever steps you can to improve the community and public health, limit the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in Maplewood and their toxic emissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Strelnick. We would now like to speak to the environmental benefits of a gas leaf blower ban. Grass clippings, leaves, and insects are beneficial to our yard and the environment. Grass clippings, when left in place after cutting the grass, will provide a ready source of fertilizer while helping the soil retain water, which promotes a healthy lawn. Research has shown that leaving short clippings can supply up to 40% of a lawn's annual fertilizer needs. Leaves are also beneficial. Leaves have been described as gardener's gold. Mulched leaves decompose and turn into organic matter. Mulched leaves are better for the greater community too, because they stay on site and out of landfills and waterways. All leaf blowers produce hurricane-force winds, up to 200 miles per hour at ground level, blowing away nature's mulch from beneath shrubs and trees, denying nutrients to plant roots, and killing beneficial insects. Insects and other pollinators are an extremely important part of our planet's ecosystem. Insects form the foundation of our food web. Honeybees, monarch butterflies, and fireflies have seen huge declines in recent years. In fact, insect species are declining worldwide. Based on the evidence just presented, the Maplewood Environmental Advisory Committee recommends that the Township Committee ban gas-powered leaf blowers. The health hazards citizens are exposed to from gas leaf blowers outweigh the possible benefit they provide. Turning to implementation, the blue bars show when gas-powered leaf blowers would be banned. Supposing implementation in the second half of 2021, a total ban on gas-powered leaf blowers would be phased in over a period of 3 years. In 2021 and 2022, they would be allowed in October and November. In 2023, they would no longer be allowed. The phase-in will allow for experimentation with other methods of leaf management. For example, mulching, simply mowing over the leaves, raking leaves into beds or into piles for pickup, putting leaves in compost or leaving leaves in place to support local ecosystems. People would have time to adjust to working with blowers or without blowers or with electric to see what would work best for them. Now that we have covered the phase-in approach to the ban, we can look at the terms of the proposal. It will be critical to include homeowners in the equation, to educate homeowners as to the reasons for the ban, reducing pressure on landscapers, and to hold homeowners responsible for violations. After speaking with landscapers, it was clear that time is extraordinarily important to stay profitable. However, they felt pressure from property owners to not leave any grass clippings behind. Even though they were often aware that grass clippings are free fertilizer and gas leaf blowers are harmful to their workers. It is crucial to treat landscapers and property owners equally and to ticket both landscape company owners and property owners. Property owners should be responsible for work done on their property, especially for work that can negatively affect their workers, neighbors, and the wider community. Property owners are already ticketed when they do not comply with code protecting the community as a whole. For example, when they do not clean the sidewalk of snow and ice. Property owners should also be ticketed when their workers do not comply with this ban. Jonathan will now speak to the support for this proposal.
This proposal can be successful with effective communication, not just with landscapers, but with residents also. The landscapers need our support to educate residents on the dangers these machines pose to workers and residents. The Maplewood Environmental Advisory Committee can help in several ways. Collaborate with Green Team to inform residents and landscapers of the health hazards from leaf blowers, and publicize green practices and their benefits. Arrange demonstrations of electric blowers and alternatives. Create a checklist to help property owners and landscape maintenance owners agree on how to comply with the ban. Maintain a list of companies committed to green practices. One landscape company owner who has been using electric equipment for years is Dan Delventhal of Mow Green. I'm pleased to introduce Dan Delventhal, founder of Mow Green LLC and accredited organic land care professional. Mow Green is a carbon neutral company focused on sustainable lawn care technologies and services. I have a couple of questions that maybe Dan can answer. Firstly, are electric blowers powerful enough?
Well, hi, thank you for having me. I think what you're doing is really important. The physicians have taught us that, and anyone who sees it happening near their property or experiences it knows it's got to change. So I've been at many meetings volunteering my time. Many towns are enacting ordinances. I was part of Larchmont, New York's historic ban, and just getting out to try to talk about and answer these questions. These are good questions. Electric blowers are powerful enough to displace gas leaf blowers, and there's so much better because you avoid the noise and the pollution. There's still some particulate issues, but there's no reason to use gas leaf blowers because electric has so many benefits and avoids so many detriments associated with gas. CFM is a term that stands for cubic feet per minute. Most of these gas leaf blowers, backpack leaf blowers for commercial use are between 600 cubic feet per minute, CFM, and 1,000. And today you can get 1,000 CFM electric blowers, but do you really need it? Practices need to change because landscapers think that they want to keep getting their fixed fee to strip all the leaves off of the property. So the more they can, the more wind speed they can get and move that infantry line across, the more money they're going to make. But it's a flawed desire that they have. So electric blowers are as powerful as gas leaf blowers. And Mogreen serves 60 acres a week, no gas leaf blowers, all electric or other methods that minimize the use of blowers. And we prefer handheld units, which are 650 CFM. So that's not the most powerful electric blower available. And for that matter, these units are a mix between, residential and commercial prosumer. So for $300, a handheld 650 CFM electric blower can blow a pine cone off a pool cover from 20 feet away. So times have changed. Anyone who 10 years ago might have been a valid argument to say that electric hasn't caught up yet, but there's no reason they're on par.
Dan, the question of batteries, how do you keep the batteries charged for a full working day?
Well, minimizing the use of blowers is a big step, but it's nice to be able to dust off hardscapes and walks and driveways, and if you do need to move some debris, you may need more than one battery in a day. And so we bring a few extras, like buying your gasoline in advance. So we bring a few extra, and most of our customers, I would say 90% of our customers, have outdoor electric outlets. And 99% of those people are happy to let us charge because they love the service, the fact that it's quiet and it doesn't damage their health or their neighbor's health or disrupt their studies or their work. So, and it's amazing. It costs 15 to 25 cents to charge an electric blower battery. And so we pretty much can go through a day with a few extra batteries, charging now and then 10 cents here, 20 cents there at our customer sites. And it's really a non-issue. On very few occasions, we run into problems where there may be 4 or 5 properties in a row where we don't have access to electric, but there's even ways to get around that. We can plug a charger right into our big electric mowers. Of course, everyone's not going to bring big electric mowers around, but I would say it's the exception that you'd ever have an issue charging a battery.
That's great.
With no gas leaf blowers used at all.
And so, how are your customers feeling about the results and I guess with the prices?
Pretty good. We have high customer retention, and that's evidenced by our growth rate. We have grown 30% per year for 8 years straight. And people call us, we serve 13 or 14 towns. I have an MBA, but it wasn't the best business strategy to take all environmentally conscientious customers who wanted to partner with us and lead the way to try to clean up their neighborhoods. So we followed those people and we served 13 towns. And we get calls from other towns all the time saying, oh, we can't believe, you have gotten rid of the gas leaf blowers and we'd like to work with you. So customers are happy, and there's a high capital cost. In other words, if somebody, well, it's not that high actually. It's a very modest cost to eliminate gas leaf blowers. I'll just stay focused on that part of it. So it's a modest cost. And so if you spend a few hundred or even $1,000 equipping your workers with a quieter, the less zero polluting tool, it's inexpensive and it costs you less to own it and operate it. The fuel cost, the cost to keep the unit running is 50 to 70% less over time, and the maintenance is much lower. And so our customers are happy, and there is no reason that the zero emission service should be any more than gas. And see, I get off script, and there you go. I mixed up a couple words.
Well, thank you very much.
We average $40 to $45 an hour, which is, I think, on par with most groups. Worth noting that blowers are good for and I tell everybody, move piles, create piles, don't move them. So you use blowers less. And we do leaf cleanup much faster by mulch mowing leaves. And we also have discovered like 50% savings in time when you mulch mow leaves and put them in beds. And all the people in a lot of the scientists in terms of who are trying to help us save biodiversity in the food web, they talk a lot about keeping those leaves in the beds through the winter all the way up until May. And there's no reason to actually take them out ever. They compress 16 to 1, they're great mulch. If you need some color framing your property, put a thin layer of mulch on top, save money, and it looks like the same thing, only it's a million times better for the environment.
All right, thanks, Dan. Now Rachel will talk about some case studies.
Leaf blower bans can be successful. Presently, over 170 municipalities in 31 states have enacted regulations on the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. Aspen was one of the first municipalities to pass a complete gas leaf blower ban back in 2003. Washington, D.C. also passed a complete ban on the use and sale of gas-powered leaf blowers in late 2018, which goes into effect January 2022. In response to the COVID state of emergency, Larchmont, New York placed an immediate ban on both gas and electric blowers. Since then, they have voted to phase out gas completely over a 2-year period. Larchmont believes a ban on leaf blowers could actually become a selling point for Larchmont, making them a modern, quiet village more appealing to everyone, especially people who work from home. Making transitions is never easy, but it has been done time and time again as hazards become clear and innovations available. Greg Easterbrook, a writer and contributor editor of the Atlantic Monthly, said, "In every case, not in many cases, in every case, when clean, new technology replaces obsolete technology, quality of life improves, costs are lower than expected, and people say, 'Why didn't we do this sooner?' The time is now." We would like to end this presentation with a quote from Peter Behuth, former executive director of Greenpeace, who wrote an article published in several newspapers on leaf blowers. "There is no waste in nature, and leaves aren't litter. When we treat leaves like trash, we're tossing out something other species need to survive. Maintaining clean air and water, addressing the looming climate crisis, and protecting other species as well as ourselves should start at a neighborhood level. If we don't encourage community responses to threats to our health and well-being, what hope do we have to take on bigger problems? We have to ask, is there value in the environment we live in, or has a leafless lawn become the new standard of our values?" This proposal for a ban on gas leaf blowers has been shared with and endorsed by Soma Action and the Green Team. A special thanks to our speakers this evening and to Quiet Communities. Thank you. That concludes our presentation, and we would be happy to answer any questions if there is time.
Rachel, thank you. Thank you to you and all the speakers this evening. Really appreciate the narrative. I had a couple of questions, but I wanted to yield to my colleagues first. But I will say, will we get a copy of this presentation?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right, I'll now yield the floor to my colleagues.
I think it was extremely thorough, and thank you. But since I'm on the EAC and I've seen it before, I have no questions, Mayor. And if you have a couple, you can probably.
Mr. DeLuca or Mr. Daffis or Mr. Limbrick, any questions? I just have a couple. Okay, just so really quick. So essentially the timeline that you put out essentially looks like you're looking for an extension of the ban for 30 days from basically for October. Is that correct, the way I read it?
For this coming year?
Yes, because currently our ban is through 9/30. And so per the timeline, I think you're, let me see.
Yes, yes,
Second.
correct.
Magic of technology here. There you go. So yeah, so per your presentation, you're looking to, we have a 5-month ban, right?
Mhm.
So it starts May 1st and runs through September. You're looking for us to extend the ban 30
Yes.
days. Okay. And then the second part of the timeline, as you know, we currently have it open for 4 months, and you'd want to, for 2022, eliminate any spring use of gas leaf blower bans.
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I was clear on that. And then my last question is, we talked about the health and the hearing of employees. I mean, sorry, the health and hearing especially. Was the data focused solely on if we had to stack rank, is it the employees that work for the landscaping companies, or is it the residents?
So for health, I mean, I don't know if I should take this question, but I'll just I'll just say that for health, I think it's everybody. And if Dr. Stronlich would like to chime in, I'm more than that. And for hearing, the greatest concern is for the workers. The graph did show that at 50 feet, it could be at a level of 85 decibels, which damaged hearing. And, Maplewood lots are often only 50 feet wide. So you would have to have 2-hour exposure. And so, it's possible, but the hearing damage is more for the workers. And please, Dr. Rosen and Nelson, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Can you hear me?
Need to be corrected.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, the workers often experience very significant hearing loss and ringing in the ears, and it just becomes commonplace. And by the time they don't have the means to afford to take care of their hearing the way that other people may. And so not only are they exposed to noise, it's going to translate to significant loss down the road. It impacts their job opportunities because they can't hear and communicate.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. Awesome. Those are the only questions I had. It was a great presentation. I look forward to diving deeper into it. I had to take a screenshot because I like to have data. So thank you. Does any of my colleagues have any additional questions or no? No. Okay. All right. Rachel, thank you again. Really appreciate it. And to everyone who came to speak tonight. Wonderful presentation.
Well, thank you so much for the time. I know you guys are very busy, so we appreciate the time. Thank you.